Welcome to another video, everyone. Today we are going to be looking at one of my own games, and we're just going to be going through kind of the thought process behind what I'm doing in them, and I'm just going to try to give you guys some tips on how to frontline, especially if you are on All That Glitters. You can definitely pull some of these ideas straight into your games as well. So let's go ahead and get started here. We're just opening up with 3 mexes. Now, I made the mistake of going for 3 mexes here. The wind speed was fantastic, which means I should have gone 2 mexes and then wind speed, and then my 3rd mex here. But it was too late on, and I'd already started building that 3rd mex, so I just opened with the solar panels. So there we are. This is a very standard build. When you're first starting out, you just want around, sorry about that. Wait a second there. You just want around 70 energy. That's gonna be the best. Close to 70 energy is gonna get you enough energy to build your factory while not running out. As you can see, we're hovering about middle, producing almost as much as we use, so that's good. And meanwhile, we are stacking up some bots here. We're getting a decent queue. I want to explain this really quick. So it's best while your factory is building to have a game plan on what you're going to be doing. So I like to start out with the Lazarus. We'll get into that in a minute, and then I'll go for 2 construction bots, and then when I'm doing bots, I'll do several pawns for like quick movement rating, which I'll show you kind of how those work later on in the game, and then I'll do some tankier units. Some people might like maces, some people might like centurions, some people might just like using rocketeers. It's really up to you on what you prefer. So the construction bots are going to be going into mexes right off the bat. We can go ahead and continue here. Making sure we build 1 windmill. And what that does is when you first get your factory built, you should immediately go into a windmill if it's a wind map, because that makes it so that your factory has time to start building the unit, because it takes like 2 or 3 seconds before the factory actually starts building. So now we're just getting that guy rolling, and he's going to be working on some metal reclaim, which it's best to take your front metal first with your resbot. That way the enemy, because like if you look over here, all of this metal is going to be highly contested towards the beginning of the game, because the front lines are going to set up right here. So I'm going towards my front line, taking all of that metal first, and then working my way back. That way I get this metal up front without any real like pressure on my res bot. Okay, first bot, we're going into a mex. I just go mexes all the way up, and then you can put your radar anywhere around here. Would be good. The radar has a decent distance that is visible, so as long as it's relatively close to the front line so that you can see into the area where the enemies are going to be at, that's really a good idea. And then you don't want it too close to the front, otherwise it can easily get sniped. So there's that. And then I have my other construction bot. He's going into windmills. Now the reason why I separate them by 2 is because if they're too separated, they won't have a large reaction. They'll react a little bit, but they won't chain react fully. So when a building explodes, it causes damage to everything around it. So it's very important to keep certain buildings spread out. Sucking up our T1 solar panels as well, so as to use that metal into our army rather than wasting it on the energy. The reason for that is the T1 solar panel is 155 metal cost, but it doesn't really provide that much energy. It only produces 20 energy, and right now a couple windmills is more than that. You only need 2 windmills and you'll have more energy than a solar collector. Oh, excuse me. Now windmills They only cost 37 metal and a little bit of energy. So it's much more efficient on higher wind maps to build windmills over solar panels. So as you can see here, if the wind speed is below 5 for Armada, then it's better to build wind, or it's better to build solar collectors. And that's T1 solar collectors. With T2 solar collectors, such as these guys, you're going to want to wait until the wind is around 8. If the average wind speed, you can see that here, current wind risk is 10, average wind speed is 11. So if the average wind speed is above 8, then you're going to want to build wind forever. If the average wind speed is above 5, then you're going to want to build wind in the beginning, but then swap over to advanced solar towards the middle of the game. Okay, hope that was explanatory enough. We took out a couple bots up at the front, or not bots, but like scouts, easy kills, not really a big deal. And we're just gonna heal up our guy and then collect these metal spots here as well. Get our guys fully ready to roll. Having a res bot is very, very valuable at the beginning, especially as a bot player, because he can heal things very rapidly. He has a build power of 200, which is essentially a building construction turret, such as this, 200. The only difference is he's mobile, so he's very good at healing and healing armies. So we're just getting some vision here. So this is what I can see here as well. And we got our first Centurion up. Now, I didn't love what I ended up doing with the Centurion. I ended up poking a little bit too much, I think, and it kind of hurt me in the long run. I think I end up almost losing this guy, which is bad. And we're just slowly building up mexes as well. Now, on this game, I don't bring my commander up. You can bring your commander up. One of the reasons why I don't often push with my commander is because in maps with lower ranked players, you'll often have a lot of leaks, like enemies coming down and around and hitting your base. The commander is one of your strongest units in the game, so I like to keep him in my base to defend it so that my economy stays very effective all game and I don't have a risk of my economy getting destroyed. So it's really up to you on what you want to do. You also don't have the risk of your commander getting exploded, which you'll be seeing why that's really important here as well in this game. Be very, very careful with your commanders. When they explode, it can ruin your whole entire game, so be mindful of that. Alrighty. So yeah, we've been having raids happening, a couple of the mexes dying out on the front. This player really needs to focus on his mexes here. These are all his. Anyway, we push up with our Centurion, do a little bit of damage, and there's a lot of healing there, which I underestimated, and we ended up losing a Centurion and pulling back. I didn't realize there was a turret there until I pushed up, so now that I know, I need to make sure not to push too much further. Now, Centurions are an anti-swarm bot, which means they're very effective at these smaller units. What are these called? Incisors. Any light laser tanks or things like pawns or grunts, the Centurion is going to just mow through them. They have 90 DPS at their longest range and 180 DPS close, which means that if the Centurion's getting pressured by other units, he's going to absolutely destroy them with that extra damage per second. I am a huge fan of laser weapons. Laser weapons have a generally longer range than most plasma. Not all the time, but generally that can be the case. And they have a bit of a damage fall off, but as you get closer to them, their damage is insane. So they're very good at doing aggression and pushing up. I believe I'm going to push up at this point because they have artillery and I don't want my units to be dying for no reason. So we're going to come up. We're probably going to lose a couple of them, but we take out a decent number of his front, and then my teammate also brings in some tanks. Now this is huge for me, and honestly I can't take any credit for that. We got tanks up at the front here doing some extra damage. He's gonna pull back and heal though, which is great. And we got rocket bots as well. Now rocket bots you kind of have to be careful with, because you can end up damaging your own allies, which is bad, but they are very effective at taking out turrets like this. These turrets are going to melt really quickly against my rocket bots. I just have to be mindful of all the artillery pieces he has. So our guy, he's going around healing everything, and we're just giving that a breather right now. We're getting a little bit fuller on metal, so I'm gonna get one build turret out here and start working on energy conversion. Okay, anytime you see that your energy is being wasted and being sent to your allies, you need to think about doing energy conversion. Sometimes it can be nice to give allies extra energy, such as even Ninja Looter over here. Where's he at? He has a very low energy income, so it could be very beneficial to give him some extra energy right now. But it's not generally good to overflow energy as a frontliner very often. You want to try to avoid it if you can. So our economy is going nuts here, just getting out another construction bot to get a bunch more energy converters so that we get some extra metal per second. One mex gives you 2 metal per second essentially. 2 energy converters fully functional will give you 2 metal per second. So if you have the energy, don't waste it. You can basically build yourself an extra mex, which can be nice. All right, let's keep going. So we're just killing these turrets with our rocket bots, making sure to micro them because they have a decent amount of artillery, and we don't really want to get hit by that artillery if we can help it. The commander pushes up, which is very dangerous for a commander to do. We have a decent number of centurions at the front now because our economy is starting to come online, and now we will be able to push all the way in and kill everything here. Just, what is it, 7 centurions? Very, very strong, and we're pushing pretty heavily to kill all, or to maximize our damage, because as we said before, centurions have a higher damage closer they get to the enemy. Now we're just going to do some repairs, and we are I would rather honestly have repaired here rather than start rezzing everything, but rezzing can be very good. We also ended up killing a camera here as well. And I noticed while I was playing that they were starting to build a gauntlet over here. So we took out that gauntlet. That's huge because they spent a lot of metal on that gauntlet. And then we also took out their bot here, or their construction vehicle. Now we got a little bit better vision. We see that they're going for more defenses, which defenses cost a lot of money. So we're going to try to take advantage of that. We got plenty of ability there. So we're pushing up again, just continuing to res stuff, and we got more res bots up as well, which we will be abusing as quickly as we can. Here we go, pushing in. Now this was a bit risky because I had to hope that my allies would come in and continue to aggress over here, because we barely took out all these tanks. It was a bit tough. We got the rocket bots doing damage as well. And the commander is going to start getting some D-guns off, which isn't good. So we need to pull these guys back. But I believe he ends up dying here just from sustained damage. Boom, there it is. And we didn't really lose that much. Now, what this means, now that the commander is dead, is we have, let me see, we have 1,000 metal here. Maybe a little bit more, actually, because I don't know. Let's give that a second to rest. We have 3,000 metal here. So that's a lot of metal. So we're gonna start rezzing things. Now, the reason why we're rezzing is because it's like having a second factory. We can get all of these corpses up and put them into our army and push with them. So the commander can be nice to res, just to have that strong D-gun at the front line if you need it. So that's what we're going for here. Now, this whole time at home, we are starting to overflow metal because we've had so many victories. So I'm just increasing build power, just solely because of the fact that we had so much of a win. We can start pushing with T1 even further. You really have two options. You can either start going T2 or you can go T1. And I feel like we have enough T1 or enough victory to push with T1 and get an effective play out of it, because I don't think they have T2 yet. And we're just slowly crushing their guys they try sending in. This is really just a phase where I want to pause and just hold this area until we can get all this metal. So I'm not trying to do anything crazy, and it really is helping that this guy is pushing units out towards us. Very, very effective. One thing that I should have done would have been to get some anti-air, because air ends up being a little bit of a problem for us in this game later. We got a second commander here. He's going to build a little bit of anti-air just to have. And we sent some raiders in just to see what they got. While we get a little bit of mexes up here. These mexes are really important. This is going to give us a bunch of extra metal. Pushing in. We're separating the attack, which is good to do. Would have been better if I didn't stop here. I must have got sidetracked with something else. Anyway, we're pushing up our units, getting plenty of them, and this guy ends up doing huge damage, which is absolutely fantastic. So we start pushing in now. Yeah, he essentially destroys the whole back line. I think he might end up getting degunned here, though. I'm not sure. Anyway, we're sending in a couple rocket bots and stuff. Boom, factory dead. And his army is going to start getting harassed by the shurikens. And we're continuing to res a bunch of units. That way we have more firepower at the front. Every time we res a unit, it increases our firepower. We got some tanks now. We got several centurions. Able to do massive damage. So part of it was the fact that we planned together. Me and the backline were planning on pushing together. And we took full advantage of the push. We didn't stall or anything. We just went fully for it. And that gave us a big lead. Alrighty, and now obviously we're going to be targeting the commander as best we can. Which he survives, but he's very weak. And they end up having T2. Oh, I don't know how that guy died. I think he might have self-destruct. He might have gotten salty or something. Anyway, so we fully collapsed the canyon. There's not really much reason to go T2, but we're starting on it. And our canyon also is under heavy fire, so it's kind of a... We're going based on time here, and we're running out of time. Because if these guys end up pushing into our base down here like they did here, our air player is going to be wounded. Our backline here is going to be wounded. We could lose the game very easily. I ended up sending some pawns in to help defend this area as well. So we end up surviving and trying to hold this while also doing damage up at the front here. So thankfully I was able to see that it helps a lot when your team pings, and then you can help aid your canyon. But right now we're in a stronger position than they are. So we're just gonna fully annihilate the canyon because we have the opportunity to. It might have been better to go into this player and try to take him out in the back, or maybe the air player. You just have to be very careful because D-guns can really hurt you. D-guns can really crush you. Shuris are a pain in the neck. But thankfully, the canyon is being held, and they're going to end up surrendering here because of all this army here pushing in on them. Aggressa really putting in some work. And these wind farms are going to start chain reacting, exploding everywhere. Actually, they were spaced out, so they didn't all die super easily. But we wiped out the economy of the front line here. And we're going to start pushing up as well into the air. We end up separating, which is fine. Air player getting ready to die as well. And then we end up wanting to resign because of the canyon being lost, but it ends up failing, which is very good because we had so much damage on them. There was no reason to resign. There's some snipers. Those are a high priority target that we want to take out. They do massive amounts of damage. We're over here just collecting all this metal that we can while preparing with T2, pushing out some sprinters because the front is so weak. And they end up surrendering. So largely the way we got ahead is just by having two players working together on the canyon. So if you get a chance, coordinate with your team, make sure to get your economy going like well, that way if for some reason you end up having issues at the front, you still have a decent economy towards the back. And the transition to T2 was very, very easy for us due to the fact that we had one on the front. And as bots, you're going to want to use your res bots to your highest potential, because that's going to give you a little bit of an advantage compared to vehicles. Because vehicles, let's see if we can find one here. I don't see a vehicles construction unit. Oh wow, everyone went bots. Oh, here we go. Okay, so vehicle construction unit only has a build power of 90 versus 200, so that's a huge advantage. And the vehicle construction unit costs even more than a res bot. So use those res bots to your advantage, and you can get a lot of extra metal and keep your army growing and make it very effective. So those are the tips for you guys today. I hope this was enjoyable to watch and gave you a little bit of insight into how I play the game. If you guys have any questions, definitely leave a comment down below. And if you enjoyed this video, definitely subscribe. It helps out the channel a ton. And share with those who are getting into Beyond All Reason. Hope this helps, and I will see you guys on the battlefield.